Hello all YouTubers, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into this Tropical Storm Laura coverage for August 24th, 2020. Before we get on with today's video, however, it would be really awesome if you guys did hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for 900 subscribers. We're almost there. We're less than 100 away from the big ultimate goal of 1,000 subscribers. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as well as ringing the bell notification so you don't miss my next upload. Also, watching the whole video because getting to the goal of 1,000 subscribers in monetization, we're getting very close. And you guys watching the whole video will help the Weather Dude's channel out a lot. So please consider watching the whole video as well. Please do. And also like and share this video with your friends. Thank you. Now let's go on with today's video. So today we're tracking Tropical Storm Laura. We have the latest maps and latest updates here. So thank you guys for all tuning in. And Tropical Storm Laura is now leaving Cuba. It is passing south of the big island of Cuba here. As you can see, for the central and western parts of Cuba, we still have tropical storm warnings in effect. And even a tropical storm warning, surprisingly, from Marathon down through Key West. And it's in extreme southern Florida there, because if you were to look at the radar, actually there are some bands of precipitation that are actually making their way through South Florida. I'll actually show that radar clip in a little bit. But Tropical Storm Laura is currently sitting with sustained winds of 60 miles an hour. It did weaken a little bit due to a little bit of northerly shear and earlier land interaction with Cuba. And it's still moving at a pretty good clip though, west-northwest at 20 miles an hour. This is as of the latest 11 a.m. advisory. And as you can see, once it enters the Gulf and makes landfall, we're talking about a hurricane. Whether it be a Cat 1, most likely it's going to be a Cat 2, but it could also be a Cat 3, and I'll explain why in this video. And even after it makes landfall, it's going to hook a right, because we got this high pressure that is sitting off to the east here, and it will most likely, after the storm makes landfall, will most likely either weaken or draw out to the east, or possibly both. So that's going to allow the storm to hook a right. Also, maybe a frontal system comes by and also hooks the system to the right as well. And this basically made like a boomerang effect right around Florida and Georgia. Very lucky there from a direct impact, but still going right around you guys. All right, and then heading towards the mid-Atlantic. Looks like as of the latest track around Saturday morning, could be in the mid-Atlantic region. So Saturday could be a wet day for you guys. All right, so taking a look at the wind probabilities. All right, now this is just from Laura. Marco is not included in this because Marco is for another video. We'll be covering that as well. You can see very high probabilities of tropical storm force winds. And even, like I said, for Marathon down through Key West, the extreme southern island chain there in Florida, we do have upwards of a 20 to 30% chance to see tropical storm force winds. But anywhere in that dark orange / red shading, or even the purple shading, this is where you have your greatest threat. This is basically where the storm is going to track. And that's where you have your greatest threat of tropical storm force winds. When will they arrive? Well, for Florida, it's basically right now through this afternoon. Then the earliest reasonable arrival time for the Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, will be overnight Tuesday in through Wednesday morning. So most likely Wednesday morning, so be ready for that. Now, we know that this will become a hurricane. Okay, that's what we think so far. But exactly how strong is it going to get? And that's what this map is going to tell us. So by 8 p.m. tomorrow, actually, 80-mile-an-hour winds, but notice the wind gust, 100 miles per hour. And I'll be looking at the surge. They haven't put out a peak surge map demographic yet, but they did actually put out a surge map, kind of like a more detailed version. But they also do put out a map later on. Once the storm gets closer, they'll put out like a peak surge map to show you what the surge potential could be. But that'll be out in about a day or so, hopefully. But sustained winds, 80 miles an hour by 8 p.m. tomorrow. Then look at this. 8 a.m. on the 26th, we have winds to strong Category 1, 90-mile-an-hour winds. But winds will be gusting to Category 3 status here at 115 miles an hour. Then near landfall, 105, and then still a Category 1 hurricane well inland. So the latest advisory does have it making landfalls of 105 to 110. Very strong Cat 2. All right, so we'll see. Could it be? Because you got to remember, Cat 2, it's a very narrow category, so that's why most storms are either a Category 1 or Category 3, because Cat 2 is only from 100 to 110, or well, technically it's actually 96 to 110. All right, but then Category 4, there's like a huge range of 130 to 156. So Category 2 is kind of like a small window, but I mean, a lot of storms do reach, I mean, some of them do reach category 2 at some point, but they don't really stay there for that long because the window is very small. All right, then once it moves through northeastern Arkansas, still a tropical depression with winds still gusting close to 45 miles per hour. Then winds could still be gusting to tropical storm force, even though the storm itself will be a post-tropical depression as it moves to the mid-Atlantic. Winds could still gust to 40 miles an hour, therefore potentially taking down some trees, but that is well down. That's 5 days out. That's well down the line. So some key messages from Tropical Storm Laura. Again, tropical storm conditions are expected much of Cuba, if not all of Cuba today. Heavy rainfall for Cuba and Jamaica, and we could see some mudslides because same thing with like a place like Mexico. They get a lot of mudslides over there, right? Some urban flooding too in any of those more populated city regions. Tropical storm conditions are also expected in the dry Tortugas and even the middle lower Florida Keys. Like I said, the central and southern part of Florida Keys from Marathon down through Key West, that's where tropical storm conditions are now expected as well. We kind of like refired those tropical storm warnings. And increasing threat for storm surge. We'll be taking a look at that as well. And later today, probably with either the 2, but most likely the 5 p.m. advisory, we will see storm surge and hurricane watches be issued for the northern Gulf Coast. You guys need to prepare now because once it gets closer in a couple days, there's no time. There's no more time to prepare once it nears closer. So the latest rainfall projections, okay, from Tropical Storm Laura. All right, where it makes landfall right in this zone here, we can see upwards of 4 to 6 inches, but inside those orange regions, including just around New Orleans, they have a little orange dot for you as well. 6 to 10 inches of rainfall anywhere in its orange shade, but widespread so far. I think these totals will go up once the storm gets closer, but widespread 2 to 4 inches in this dark green color. But even some widespread regions are shaded in that yellow as well, which is 4 to 6. But I think these totals will go up as the day comes closer for Laura's landfall. Now, the greatest flash flood risk for now looks like the south central and western Louisiana coastline. So around Baton Rouge, for example, just south of you guys. But even this yellow region, we still have a good threat for flash flooding from the Florida Panhandle back west all the way towards the eastern, like the Bow River, like the eastern edge of Texas. And even Houston, Galveston, we do have a small threat for some flash flooding from this. But like I said, this all depends on the track. All right, and looking at the storm surge, if I zoom out, all right, you can see that we do have some surge for Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, but central and southern Louisiana here, look at some of the red we have here. For just south of Lafayette, this is where storm surge could get more than 9 feet above normally dry ground. Keep this in mind. This storm is projected to be a Category 2 at landfall, possibly Category 3 in my mind. But you look at Marco, that's coming on shore, which will be another video that I've uploaded today. You look at Marco making landfall, making landfall skirting the Louisiana coastline. That's still going to bring 2 to 4 feet of surge. So imagine what a Category 2 to Category 3 hurricane could do. We're talking about potentially over 10 feet of storm surge. And yes, the thumbnail doesn't lie. As of right now, okay, 10 feet of storm surge is possible from basically south of Lake Charles, all right, especially through southern portions of Lafayette, all right, so this is a very, very dangerous situation, even in the orange colors, widespread orange colors. All right, even back towards Beaumont, we see orange as well. That's where we can see storm surge values greater than 6 feet above ground. That includes you in Morgan City as well. All right, so this could be a very, dangerous threat. Now, anywhere in these, you might see these white patches on your map. All right, that means it's a levied area, and for your flood risk, you have to consult local officials. So for a place like Louisiana, because obviously the levees because of Katrina. So for New Orleans, you might have to contact a local official to see your surge risk. Now, for Tropical Storm Laura here on Tropical Tidbits, again, 60-mile-an-hour winds, pressure is holding steady at about 1,000 or so millibars, and we'll be taking a look at the satellite imagery right now. All right, and as you can see, we see a lot more thunderstorm convection. It's starting to spin around, but it's not the most organized. Again, this is a tropical storm, not a hurricane yet, so don't expect too much from this. But the fact that it's getting a lot of convection now, the center is back out over water. It's south of Cuba. It'll probably pass over Cuba one last time because Cuba kind of makes a shape like this. So Cuba might pass over Cuba one last time. But even if it does, the extreme western part of Cuba is not as mountainous, so it won't have as much of an impact on it. It went over Haiti, Dominican Republic, and it really didn't weaken any. So I think it can handle one last touch over land. But right now, just south of Cuba actually is the warmest waters in the Caribbean, actually. Potentially, maybe even the warmest waters in the entire Atlantic Ocean. So, but even the Gulf of Mexico is very, very warm right now. So let's take a look at the GFS model here. But before I do, I want to take a look at the ocean temperature anomalies, just so I can show you. So again, here is where Laura is right now, south of Cuba. Again, warmer than average waters. It's going to be tracking into the Gulf, going like this. Now, keep in mind that the further south of a track it takes, and then bends to the north, that means the storm is over water for a longer period of time. If it were to make a cut like this for like Louisiana, Mississippi, which are just not getting hit by Marco, in the eastern portions of Louisiana, that means the storm stays over water for less period of time. Also, if it takes a track like this, it's moving over average to slightly cooler than average waters because Marco literally just moved through there. But if the storm takes a more southerly track and then bends to the north, not only are the ocean waters more warmer than average, but the storm is staying over water for an even longer period of time. So that's something to consider as well, right? Because if it were to make the shortest route, just to cut right over the Mississippi, Alabama, wouldn't be quite as strong of a storm. Now look at the ocean water temperatures. Again, this is what I'm showing you. We're near 31, 32 degrees Celsius just south of Cuba, which is pushing 90. That little northern tip of South America is always like 90 plus, which is really weird. But if it were to take a northern track like this, it's moving through water temperatures 29 degrees Celsius, which is still good for development. But if it takes a southerly track and up, man, oh man, it's going to be sitting in 31 degree waters, 31 degrees Celsius, mind you, for a long, long period of time. Now let's take a look at the GFS model. Just wanted to mention that real quick. All right. So here's the GFS model, and you can see the precipitation, very heavy rainfall. It looks like on the east side of this, east-southeast side of the storm, pressure could be dropping to 994 millibars as this moves out of Cuba, but then look what happens. This thing gains some serious strength. And we're talking about a category, I mean, I'll show you the wind graphic as well, but very heavy rain, 980 millibars of pressure by the time we head to Tuesday night. And then, boom, this storm makes landfall on in the Louisiana coastline here, all right, just west of Lafayette near Baton Rouge, and whew, that storm is powerful. Huge amounts of heavy rain. We're talking about potentially rainfall rates of up to 30 millimeters every single hour. Now, the good thing with this, and kind of like the same thing with Marco, is that this storm is not going to be slowing to a crawl. All right. Actually, the storm is moving pretty fast. All right. Now, while this does reduce the rainfall rate, technically, yes. However, if a very heavy, if lots of rainfall can fall in a short amount of time, all right, that can still produce catastrophic effects, regardless of how long the storm is here. 30 millimeters of rainfall every single hour. We're talking about rainfall rates more than 1 to 2 inches of rain an hour plus. Could even be greater than that. Then the storm moves up through Louisiana, right through the central part of Louisiana, then still into Arkansas here. Central part of Arkansas, very heavy rainfall. And then this kind of makes a book for the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic regions. Now, how about those surface winds? Now, before I do, I told you guys I was going to show you the radar. This is rainfall from Laura. As you can see, Naples got some rainfall, Miami, all right, we got some storms headed for Key West, and we do have some gusty winds, which is prompting those tropical storm warnings. But frankly, I'm actually pretty surprised this is happening because Laura is well south, right? I mean, we know that Laura, the center of Laura at least, is all the way down there, like off this map, like down here somewhere, all right, south of Cuba. The reason it's weakening is because there's actually shear coming from the northerly direction, all right, which is actually suppressing the thunderstorm activity, and it's keeping it south. So that's why a lot of those, you might see right now that a lot of the strongest thunderstorms are to the east-southeast of the storm, because the northerly shear pushed all the convective activity from the northeast side down to the east-southeast side of it. So what's amazing is how these thunderstorms can somehow break out and still, make their way into Florida, even though the wind shear is pushing them south. Okay, now these could be your typical sea breeze thunderstorms, plus a little bit of Laura's moisture could have been thrown in there. All right, so that could be a factor as well, but it's still pretty amazing. Now here's the good part. Here's where we take a look at those surface winds. And right now, I gotta give the GFS model pretty accurate. 2 p.m. this afternoon, they think by the 2 p.m. advisory, maybe 55 knots of wind, which is 60 miles an hour. All right, I'm sorry, 65. Sorry. All right. Then once it moves into the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, you can see it just left Cuba, and right away they think, wow, a pretty powerful hurricane. This is now a hurricane with 80 to 85 mile-an-hour sustained winds by Tuesday morning. You can see the low here. The low is right here, but Cuba's right here. It just left Cuba, all right? And that's because I know that there's a current, all right, that moves through, not the Gulf Stream, but a different current that's connected to the Gulf Stream then moves through this region right here and eventually connects with the Gulf Stream. And once that storm moves over that region, this storm is going to rapidly blow up completely. I mean, it's going to blow up. I mean, in a good way for this storm. Like, it's going to literally just take off, and it's going to have a lot of fuel. Then look what happens. Our winds go up to 96 knots by 2 a.m. on Wednesday. You see, I like this because it's like the full resolution look. It has like a better look to it. It looks very detailed and smooth. That's why I like using the full resolution one. But this is still surface winds. Now take a look. Winds of near 105 knots by 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Okay, so that means winds of about 120 to 125 even miles per hour, which is a major Category 3 hurricane, right? So this is very, very serious here. And then still making landfall with winds of, well, 100 knots, which is exactly 115 miles an hour, which is just a Category 3, all right? Then you're going to see the storm's going to start to, it might start losing, yeah, it's going to lose track of it. I don't know why it does that, but Laura is still right there. Sometimes it kind of glitches out. When you saw the precipitation loop, it looked fine. All right, but still, even up through, like I said, crossing into Arkansas, you can still see winds of 45 knots, which is 50 to 55 miles an hour. So it's a very strong tropical storm, even well inland here. And let's look at the HWRF model now, shall we? All right. Look at the very heavy rain, these reds and these purples, these banding features that you see taking place this east-southeast side of this. As it moves through Cuba, over, okay, the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, 973 millibars of pressure, but they make this thing even stronger. Look at this. You won't be able to tell until the wind loop. I mean, it looks good now, but wait till you see it later. All right, 931 millibars of pressure. Look at this huge eye wall. You see this northern eye wall is absolutely, this is just spectacular, okay? And the amount of rainfall that's coming from this, they're projecting, okay, rainfall rates of up to 3 inches per hour, okay? And the storm's not even moving that slow. All right, we're talking about 55 plus millimeters of rain, every single hour, which translates to about 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. Then it moves inland, and the heavy, heavy rainfall continues. All right, we're talking about you guys in Arkansas, still seeing rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches an hour. All right, then it moves up through Missouri, that makes a book on out to the east. All right, so that's how the HWRF model has it right now. I'm moving right through Ohio there. Now, this is what they think with the surface winds. Take a look at this. Storm leaves Cuba, boom, right there. 8 a.m. Tuesday, like the GFS, this is now becoming Category 1 hurricane. Remember, Category 1 hurricane requires 64 knots. This has 65, so it's right there. And it moves all to the north, and look at this beast. 130 knots of wind, okay? We only need 130 miles an hour just to have a Category 4, but this is knots, not miles per hour. Okay, 131 knots, that is a crazy amount of wind. This will cause destructive damage if this does manage to become a Category 4, because 131 knots of wind is 150 miles an hour. This is a high-end Cat 4 by this point. So there's a lot of possibilities with this storm. Then it makes its way onshore. Then it does weaken, but still maintains hurricane, even tropical storm status as it moves through Arkansas. And lastly, the cyclone vorticity signature, as you can see, look at this beast. All right, it's pretty large. So you can see the outflow bands that go all the way through Texas to Louisiana. This could be as strong as Hurricane Harvey. Not produce as much rain as it, but it could be as strong as Hurricane Harvey. It's making landfall in an almost similar location to what Harvey did. Far to the north and east, but in a very similar region. So, guys, you definitely need to watch out, because even after the storm makes landfall, moves to Arkansas, you can see the excessive, this outflow boundaries. This is very just spectacular, because this storm could be a Category 3, and once it makes landfall, energy from that can still be transferred on shore. So, thank you guys for watching today's video. I am the Weather Dude, signing off till next time. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost there to 1,000 subscribers, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.